Today's episode, we need to get a sign.
We need to release our logo.
We need to release our logo. That will come soon.
Someday.
So anyways, we have Chris here, the founder of RinseKit, and we wanted to talk about Shark Tank and the process of being on Shark Tank, the ins and outs and nuts and bolts. So
yeah,
how did it happen?
Shark Tank. So when we first started the company, I think, I don't know, eight months into it, we decided to do a Kickstarter campaign. And the Kickstarter campaign kind of went viral, so it was pretty cool. We got a lot of views on that, and we actually had one of the producers from Shark Tank reach out to us, and that was awesome because we had thought about going on there, but like we don't need to, and we didn't really want to go through the whole process. And I guess they were like really excited on seeing the product and how well it was doing on Kickstarter, and they said like, look, 40,000 people a year apply to go on the show, so we want you guys to pitch it and see how it goes and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to have them reach out to us.
So when you first do the pitch, it's obviously you're not pitching initially to the investors. It's like a group of people who work with Shark Tank, and then they review it. How does that work?
Yeah. So basically, there's a process you got to go through. So they'll send you this giant legal document that you have to go through and fill out and verify the business to make sure it's not a scam and you didn't knock off somebody else or whatever and all this stuff. You have patents and all that. They do their due diligence pretty well in the company. And you have to fill out this fat thing of paperwork, and then you send it to them, and then you wait months or weeks or whatever. And then they get back to you, and they're like, all right, we want to see you like videotape yourselves doing the pitch. And it's super cheesy, like tongue-in-cheek
stuff.
You
love being on video, so you probably had fun with that.
Yeah. I don't mind like talking about stuff, but I don't like pretending to be something. And we had to be like, hi, sharks, and like just ugh. And I was like, yeah, it was super hokey, but like, that's what they're looking for on that kind of thing. So we had to videotape ourselves. It took us like all day to get it right. And then we sent that in, and then like just crickets for a while, and we're like, oh, maybe they didn't like it. So that was like kind of nerve wracking, but then they got back to us and they're like, hey, we want you guys to come in and actually pitch.
What was your reaction when like that happened?
So what they do is they basically get you to come up to LA into the studios and stuff like that. And that part was pretty nerve wracking, and I feel like we kind of bombed that part, but we still got through, I guess. But so like they have you go up there and you're waiting there with a bunch of people, and it's like really awkward. And they're like, all right, you're just going to go out there and pitch to the producers. And, they set up like your little table for you or whatever you're doing to display your product, just like you would kind of pitch it on TV. And you roll out there, and there's just 40 people on their computers, like on desks, just like
taking notes.
Nobody's looking at you. They're just doing.
They're just messaging each other. Like
they're just doing emails. Well. I don't know what they're doing, but you're like, hey guys, so we're here from RinseKit, and here's what we're doing, and blah, 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 and nobody's looking at you. You're just like, is anybody listening? And you're talking, and they're just videotaping with this little tiny camera, and you go through that and you pitch it, and they're like, okay, any comments? And the people in the back are like, yeah, we'd like you to be more, this and that, and if you guys could kind of, be more animated or whatever, like, oh, okay. And, and like, all right, thanks, next. And you're like, okay. And then you go home. Oh. And so like, you're kind of nervous. Like, wow, I think we kind of like blew that. But
at that point, like you said, like they reached out to you because you're a Kickstarter. At that point, were you already fulfilling orders through your Kickstarter? Or
yeah, we had already had a company for a while. So
okay.
It wasn't like, you don't have to be like, a non-existent company to go on Shark Tank. They take companies that are just new or brand new or been going for a while and need investment. But, that was nerve-wracking. And then, so we're like, I don't know if we did so well on that. You kind of go home and they call you back and like, hey, we want you guys to actually go on the show. And then they give you an air date, and it's like 7 months or something. It's like way out.
How were you nervous, excited?
We were super nervous. So, I don't even remember the timeline on that, but like that's when you really got to like start like kind of going like, okay, here's what we got to say, because
you got to know your numbers.
Well, I brought a numbers guy, so like I'm bad at numbers, so I was like, I'm bringing a dude who has a brain who can do math, like, because that's the thing is they're like, I'll give you 4% for one thing. It's like, what is that? Like I don't know what that means, So I brought a guy who could do math in his head pretty well, and he was pretty sharp on it. He knew our numbers inside and out, and I was like, all right, you need to get on there. You'll be the numbers guy. I'll talk about the product because I'm really, I know it really well, and I'll emphasize how cool it is and all this stuff. So. We had pitched, we had done that a lot and practiced that. And there was like certain things we just didn't want to talk about. We're like, let's not go here, like let's try to avoid this and that and whatever. And so, like the day comes and like, all right, you go get a hotel room up there, I think, depending on what time you're filming. And then you just like don't sleep that well. And the next day you get up and you get all, ready and make sure like your shirt's.
A watch party or anything? Or
well, we haven't even filmed yet. So like when you go up there and basically there's like a, full like, system. You got to get the hotel, you got to sit in a trailer, and they like pulled me in and they put makeup on me for the first time in my life.
How was that?
Never had that. It was weird. And they gave me a haircut and everything. Like, oh yeah, they gave me a haircut and they're like coloring my eyebrows in cause they're all like bleached out. And, I was like, oh wow, this is the real deal. And then and then you just go sit in this room. I think we sat in the room for like 6 hours.
Because I'm assuming they probably filmed like 10.
They got everybody there. So they could film 20 people that day and they could be like, hey, we don't have time for you. Go back, we'll come back tomorrow. So we just waited and waited and waited. And you're like, you're just sitting there all ready, like wearing your nice clothes and you're ready to go on right then, but you got to wait. So we had to wait. And then finally like, all right, you guys are up. You're like, oh my gosh, here it goes. And so you walk out there and, I was probably talking like super fast and all excited. You just want to make sure you don't sound stupid or like make the company look bad.
Did you get it in one take?
Yeah.
Did
So
you mumble? Did you forget your numbers when you were pitching, or did you oh, that went really well?
Doesn't really matter. I mean, if you mumble, so like we were there filming for probably like an hour, and all the things we didn't want to talk about, like all those sharks are really smart, like super smart.
They're sharks.
They're not like you think like, oh, this is TV. Like they're super smart. They went straight to the stuff where like we don't want to talk about like the numbers and if there's any, and they went straight to it. I mean, they're just like they honed in on that, and they were like, what's this and what's that? We're like, oh god, you guys are going right there. And then, so then they all start asking questions at the same time, and you just answer that one, and they're like, what, that, and you answer that one, and they're like, and so we just did that back and forth. It's weird because on the show, there's all this music and stuff, and this is your first time seeing the set is when you walk out. You don't get to see the set until you walk out. So you walk out, and all the, things are TVs.
Do they play that music?
No, there's no music. It's dead quiet. So that's the hard part. So you roll out, and it's like they have these little tape marks on the ground. They're like, stand here, and it's like dead quiet, and all you hear is like there's 15 cameras going, and you're just like what do I look at? They're like, don't look at the camera, just look at the sharks, and they're like, okay, go, and you're like, hi sharks, my name, and you just do your thing, and then you fire it out, and then they're writing stuff down or whatever, and it was pretty cool. And so like Cuban was like, I love it, I'm tech, this isn't really my thing, I'm out. He was out right away, but then everybody else came back with an offer for us. So that was really cool. And they were all very interested in it, and they had great questions, and they're all super nice. I mean, nobody like attacked us.
Did you have a shark that before going in that you think would have been the best partner based
I mean,
on your product?
everybody's like, oh, we want to do, Cuban or this guy or whatever. I mean, but at the end of the day, you just don't want to look stupid. So
who did you end up getting a deal with?
So we went with Damon, and I think it was kind of funny because we went out and like we had 4 offers or whatever, and we're like, yeah, Damon's got the best offer by far, so let's go with him. He seems cool. And we go back out, and I'm like, Kevin, we'll take your offer. And I was like, I mean, Damon, dang it. Like, everybody looks like, Kevin, what the heck? You're the worst offer. And so they're like, cut. Let's redo that, And so we had to like say like, Damon, we'll take your deal. And then, it was pretty cool. So, then after that, we started getting in with Damon's team and talking about the details of it. And, a lot of that's kind of like the way they run their business. So I don't really want to say too much, but it was really cool. Super awesome dude. We kind of negotiated back and forth for a couple months, and then we're like, hey, I think we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We don't really.
And he probably respected that.
He totally did, and he was awesome. Like he was a super nice guy, but at the end of the day, you got to find out like, okay, what are you tangibly doing for me? What am I doing for you? How does this transaction happen? And it just didn't really make sense. So, so we didn't end up like, getting the deal at the end of the day.
Well, that's kind of, I think also why we wanted to, make this video, because a lot of people will see the show.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, well, how is the actual experience?
Yeah.
And so we're stoked that you took the time to kind of explain how it was. And we kind of want to know, like, how is it now? Like, where has your company gone? What directions you're taking? Would you even go on Shark Tank again?
Yeah.
Let the people know, like, where you guys are now.
Yeah. So RinseKit's cranking. We're doing great. I mean, yeah, we're bigger and better and got new products and all this stuff, things, we just kept growing from it. So Shark Tank definitely helped. It's awesome. And if you can do it, I would do it in a second. I would do it again. And it was cool. It was fun. It was super nerve wracking, but there's a confidence level, once you do that, you're like, all right, we pitched on national television.
Well, not like when you go to trade shows, it's like so easy.
Yeah.
We're on Shark Tank. Like,
yeah. And everybody,
so nerve wracking.
Everybody's like, you should go on Shark Tank. Like, we're on there. No way, whatever. And it's like, yeah,
Gotcha.
So that's the hard, long haul that people don't get of like, it's hard to do the business stuff. It doesn't just happen overnight. Typically, it's very rare that you get those unicorns that just take off. You got to work at it day in and day out for years and years and years and make a lot of mistakes and figure it out and keep going.
Like, tell the people like why this product 4 years later is so much different.
Yeah. So when we first, so my background was I had a pool construction company that I started when I was like 19. And did a lot of plumbing, understood water pressure and stuff like that. So I was just surfing one day, and I put this big pipe in the back of my truck. And, the thing with pool filters is when the pump's running, the pressure from the filter pump will basically compress the air in the tank. And then when you shut that off, it pushes that back out, and it's like it has water pressure even though the pump's off. So I was like, I'm just going to kind of use that concept and put it in the back of my truck. So I got a big long pipe and I put a cap on it, and then you could just charge it up with a garden hose, and it would compress the air in the tank that was trapped in there, and that compressed air would then push the water back out. So that was something that we, proprietary invented, and then we thought of the way to do the quick connect and all that kind of stuff. So that was like 2013 or something like that. It was a long time ago. And then we got it. I built one out of pipe, and built some roof rack things for some guys, and everybody's like, this is pretty cool. You should kind of look into this. So I ended up just selling my pool company.
You were in Hawaii at the time, right?
No, I wasn't. I was here in California.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was here, and I was like, talked to my wife. I was like, hey, I know we got a good thing going here with the pool business. We sold the whole thing, and then I was like, hey, let's put our money into this, and see if we can get some help from some guys. And I knew one of the guys who would help build his pool, and I was like, hey, can you throw some money into it? And just kind of started raising awareness, and we got a tool made, we got this box made, and all this kind of stuff. And we rocked the pressure game for a while, where you'd basically fill it up from the water pressure in your house, and it would push that water back out just because the air was compressed. And when you do that, you have to have a cylindrical tank in there. So you have this like kind of tank inside of here that only goes to here, and you're getting like out of a 2-gallon tank, a quarter of that has to be air. So like the air that gets compressed. So if you got 2 gallons, you got 1.5 gallons of usable water. So it's cool because there's no moving parts. But if you don't have a hose spigot, or you want to go out and just fill it up from a lake, or all these different things, it kind of was.
There's some limitations.
There was some limitations, yeah. So over the years of doing that, we kind of realized that it would be cool just to be able to flip a switch, and get water pressure immediately and do that stuff. So it's kind of the evolution of it, just by listening to the audience and all that kind of stuff. And so this one in the same size bucket gets 3.5 gallons. And
all you do is literally, you can fill water in any source and just literally push a
button. Yeah. So instead of that, you got to fill it from a pressurized source, which is what, we were doing before. You just press a button and it turns on the water pump, and then there's a little cap right here you can just pour the water into. This thing took years to develop. And the stuff that you're seeing like coming to market, that's like our RinseKit Sport, that thing, that was it.
Little guy over here?
Yeah, that was, a year and a half or 2 years at least. There's a lot of parts in that, all that stuff. You have to make it, you have to cut the steel, you have to get a tool made, you have to make adjustments. I mean, it's 6 months of just testing the thing you made, and that's if the engineering file was good. But that's the thing I don't think people realize. It's like, cool, you got something, but how are you going to make it? Who's going to make it? How many are you going to order? How are you going to pay for that? Where are you going to keep it? How are you going to sell it? How are you going to blah, blah, blah. So it's just like there's so much to that. We probably do a whole nother episode on just business stuff, but yeah.
That'll be episode 4.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap things up, what advice would you give someone who wants to go on Shark Tank? Would you say it's worth it? Would you say, like, what is your, I guess, a takeaway, like something you wish you would have done?
I would definitely do it if you have the opportunity. It'd be great. I mean, unless you have some gaping holes in your business that you don't want to be exposed on TV because they're going to find out. Everything went as well as we could have wanted it to go.
Thanks for talking about Shark Tank. And yeah, we'll have another episode about like just how to grow a business.
Yeah.
This is more just like Shark Tank, but we can go into like another episode of how to scale a business, how R&D works, how working with international shipping companies. There's so many ins and outs that I feel that people want to hear about. So we'll get back to that.
Sounds good.